Alright, so we're going to be making some clay pottery today. We harvested this clay down at an elevation of about 6,000 feet from a riverbed. Clay at this altitude is really rare and hard to find. We're at about 9,400 feet up in the mountains. So what we got to do is go find a place with clay, and clay can be various different colors. A lot of people are used to a red clay. This is a green clay. Now this looks pretty good. This is the stuff that we harvested from the riverbed. I mean, just looking at that, that looks pretty good, but there's a lot of impurities in that. So to be able to make a good solid pot, we want to get all those impurities out. There's plant life in there. There's a little leaf right there. There's twigs and sticks. There's small rocks, sand. So what we got to do to make that clay more pure is I've got a bucket here. You see this stuff's pretty soupy. I'm going to add water to this slowly, and then I take my impure clay and I'm going to work it into this bucket of water and smash it up into like a soupy consistency. What that does is clay is kind of a microscopic flake type material. So when you add it to water, it floats in that water, and as it settles down, it swings back and forth, and it'll settle down in the bottom of the bucket. All the larger bits of material like sand, small rocks, materials like that are heavier, so they're going to settle to the bottom of the bucket. It's going to settle to the bottom, and then the clay that's suspended in the water will slowly float down and land on top of that. And any plant life will stay floating on the top of the water. We'll let that sit for about 24 hours, and when you come back, you'll dump off the water and the plant life off the top, and the bottom of the bucket will be impurities, sand, gravel, and then the top layers of the dirt that settles down will be clay. Once you get that clay pure, then you're going to start working it. Just for an example here, once we process this, we come back tomorrow, and this is the clay, we're going to pinch it, we're going to make bowls out of it. Now, you want to try to get the clay so it's the consistency of Play-Doh, and then we're going to slowly make this into a bowl. I mean, this is real quick, real crude form, but this is what we're basically going for. There's a lot of sand in this right now, so it's not going to be great. But after we've processed the clay, this is what it's going to look like. And then we're going to fire this, but we're going to do, we'll show you that process here in a day or so after we've really processed this clay down to this pure clay, and let it dry out a little bit more. So we've been working on some pottery. We got a few crude clay bowls here. This clay that we found by the river down in some lower elevations. Clay is pretty hard to come by up here. But we've worked these into bowls, and we need to dry them out slowly. They've been drying out inside for the past few days. Some of these are still newer and wet. They dry out too fast, they're going to crack. You can see the color changes. This one's pretty well dried. This one here is drying still. If you want the edges to not dry out as fast, you can take some leaves, some wet leaves, and put them over the top, just slightly damp, or you can use paper towels. But once these are fairly sun-dried and air-dried, we're going to fire them. Instead, we're going to just let these dry out in the sun for the day, and hopefully by tomorrow, if the weather cooperates, we're going to put these in the fire and let them completely harden. We're going to unearth our pottery here. It's been cooling overnight and throughout the day. It's been pretty windy today, so you can see some of the pottery here. The wind is just blowing the ash away. We did have one crack on us. There could be any number of things that caused that to crack. Could have been weight, could have been air pockets, could have been that we didn't let it set up long enough before we fired it. Several other things. But we're going to go ahead and dig these out and see if any of these are still intact.
So there is, we got a few that survived. It's still pretty hot. I would probably normally let this cool down all the way, but because the wind was blowing it out, I figured I'd go ahead and get them off of there.